Welcome to our most recent episode of Ops Unfiltered. Today, we have a very special guest. Drove in.
Yes.
Drove in from Idaho Falls. Idaho.
Yeah.
One of those guys.
I am one of those guys.
Today, we have Anthony from American Flat.
Thank you.
He is the senior
operations manager.
Senior. Not junior, not director.
Yeah. Clear distinction.
As we always do in Ops Unfiltered, we dive into the back-end operations, the boring stuff around operations. So can you please introduce yourself real fast? Which companies have you helped grow? What led you to American Flat to be the senior director of operations?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I started out cutting my teeth in a really small e-commerce company called Teton Web Stores, going with that theme of Idaho strong. And we did e-commerce, FBA, really kind of 3P models. From there, went to part owning another e-commerce company called Brusa Distributing. That's kind of where I really got into the operations side of things and found that I liked operations more than I did the selling on Amazon. I liked the way things worked and how people had to come together to play. And then when things were bad, how you had to kind of drop what you're doing and solve them. I was there for about 10 years at Brusa Distributing.
Holy crap.
I recently, I would say probably within the last year and a half, I left Brusa Distributing. Great relationship, great terms. Just was my time to go. And I got into the remote work industry, and that's where I tried doing a little Amazon consulting and realized that I still really liked operations. And there was an opening in American Flat for a senior ops manager. I applied and immediately hit it off with the hiring crew. Met my boss, Kent Nunez, and we really, really hit it off. We were like-minded. He's a genius at operations. He's a genius at a lot of things, but specifically operations. And I've been there for a little over a year now. So.
Okay. Well, so you're primarily an operator of Amazon. Obviously, American Flat's super omni-channel. We'll get into that later, but primarily an Amazon business, right?
Yeah, primarily. A lot of operates in a 1P model, is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Does also have a 3P.
When you say 1P or 3P, what does that mean?
No, good call. But 1P would be like the vendor central side, where Amazon buys the product from you, then sells them under your brand, but they are responsible for the distributing of it, the customer service of it, etc. And then a 3P model would be what I think more people are accustomed to, the FBA, sending it into the Amazon distribution centers and having Amazon fulfill it, but you are still the brand owner. You own the product. Amazon takes a cut, etc.
Got it.
That's the 1P, 3P difference.
And how long have you operated a sales channel on Amazon for?
Personally, I have operated on Amazon. I feel like I'm one of the OGs of the Amazon 3P. I feel like I've been there forever. I've been doing Amazon for about 15 years total, mainly in the 3P model, the FBA, FBM, going to Walmart, clearance aisles, scanning on my phone,
so
I can flip it.
You've been doing retail triage for 15 years?
Yes. Now, I will say the majority of my salary is paid from other people. I am not successful enough to support myself on that 3P, but I do like the thrill of the finding something on clearance and seeing it selling for $60 on Amazon and saying, "Oh yeah, let's roll that." So,
and then your other brands, those have grown from 6 figures to 7 figures.
Yeah,
right?
so I've helped the 2 previous companies that I was with were starting small in the kind of the low 6s, and we grew them to 7. And then operationally, like I guess I didn't even know it, but the first company operationally, I had to hire a marketing team and then train them. Then I had to hire a PR team and train them, a customer service team and train them. And then we grew the business. And even then, looking back at it, I liked the operations more then than I thought I did, and really liked that. And then the next company, Brusa Distributing, same kind of thing. It was started off as 2 people in we called it a shoffice because it was a shop office, but it wasn't nice enough to be called an office, but not bad enough to be called a shop. So it was a shoffice. There were 2 of us in the attic of it, and then we ended up growing it to a 6,000 square foot warehouse that we housed our own product in and had a team of quality control and
Wow.
a team of marketers, and that's where we're at. So.
My first question: what, as somebody who's been as an OG in the Amazon game, what are some things that you could do back then that you can't do anymore?
Oh my word! Probably for the better. I will just disclaimer: there are the black hat things that we used to do that you can't do now are probably for the better. Keyword stuffing, linking your competitors on the back end, ASINs. Right? Capitalizing on those high traffic competitors. I shouldn't do that. Listing a product in a category that you really weren't supposed to be in, but you wanted to be there anyway, and then
was
trying
that to
change
get around
it.
the restrictions?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember. I tried that a couple times.
Yeah, stuffing words in white text. In
You used to be able to do that?
a long time ago.
Okay.
Long time ago. Now the bots AI they crawls everything, but now they are crawlable and then just feels bad to say out loud. Really, this is almost like a confessional. It's like a being so manipulative of the customer service agents, going through and just immediately going to like I want to chat or I want to call, and then not even paying attention to what the other person online was saying. And nope, I want a captive agent right now. Give me somebody that is stateside and fix my problems because they don't want to be on the phone or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now the customer service is a little more intuitive to what people want and stuff, but still you got to navigate it. It is a little crazy, but you used to be able to get away with quite a bit. Pricing, that was another thing. You used to be able to go crazy on pricing and brand protection that exists now that didn't before. Being able to sell on people's listings. I used to be able to sell whatever you wanted. And
Really?
Yeah.
You just attach to somebody else's listing, no problem?
Sometimes you would be able to, like, let's say I found a pair of Nikes at Walmart and listed it on Amazon. They're $110. I got them at Walmart for $30. You used to be able to go in because there was no brand protection. There was no gates. It was a lot of things were ungated.
Well, yeah, some people would also sell a bunch of ripoffs all the time.
Counterfeits were crazy.
I remember one big one was the Hatchimals one year.
Oh.
I mean, those were exploding like crazy on eBay and Amazon, but they went out of stock everywhere. Like people were buying them for $1,000, and they were just getting one from Alibaba.
That's nuts.
It's nuts. Now Amazon's like way better.
Way strict. And I will say from like sellers with a brand that you fought hard and did the trademark, like you deserve that protection. You really do. But there were those of us that did try to take advantage. So.
What's the biggest difference between a 6-figure Amazon brand and a 7-figure? Let's say 3P, just typical FBA.
I would say, and I might get a lot of hate for this. I think it is easy to get your first million. To go from, 6 to 7, I think that's easy.
Why?
Because at that point, you don't know what you don't know, right? But as soon as you get to that million, and then you think, all I need to do to get to 2 million is double what I did. That's not the case. All of your overhead isn't doubled. Your customer service representatives that you might need or your tech, you might need to get 3 or 4 of them versus the one that you had before. So I think getting to that 1 million is fairly easy. I'll maybe retract and say it's fairly easy because your overhead is so low. You're so used to just, an order came in. Great, let's rush to do it. And now when you have 100 orders that come in, it's like, now I don't have enough time in the day to get these out.
Is it maybe you getting past 7 figures forces you to figure out like the unit economics and if you're actually profitable?
Absolutely.
Your overhead is just like you and your friend.
100%. No, you're exactly right. Especially like once you start doing PPC, you might not have been doing that good of a PPC job before with advertising. And then you're like, well, we've kind of reached our plateaued with where we're at. In order to get more, we have to start pumping money into it. But it's not as simple as, I want a double-digit ROAS, right? And, in order to do that, I'm going to give it $12 and it's going to pump out a $30. It's not that way. And it starts adding up. And now on Prime Day, where you maybe only spent $100 in advertising and you did great, and now you did 1,000, but your sales are maybe the same, and now starts to think, oh, maybe now we got to really tweak it and dive into those per SKU economics.
Interesting. So up to $1 million, it's something you and your friend can do. Past that, it's all of a sudden you need to build the processes. You need better systems in place.
Absolutely.
You have to start focusing. You need more people. You just can't do it by yourself anymore.
You can't do it by yourself. And it's not linear, right? And I think you obviously have to have a good product. Like I don't think any person could get $1 million on Amazon, right? You have to have a good product. You have to do your diligence. But I think if you focus on that, you can get it to $1 million. But then if you want to scale it and grow it, you really have to dig deep and find it.
How do you spot a good Amazon brand? So let's say you land on a listing, and since you've had so much experience now, it's just like, these guys suck.
Yeah.
Like, what do you look for? Do you look for the rank on Seller Central, or do you look at the reviews? What do you look at?
So my secret sauce, I would call it, so patent pending, I actually look at the images, believe it or not.
Why?
I look to see if they're AI generated, right? Because I think we're still in that region of whether or not you can tell it's fake or if it's AI generated, right? I look to see if they are like a studio quality. And for me, that means that they've taken the time to set their product up and really kind of understand what the consumer's looking for. If it's fake or AI generated, then it's like they are just keyword searching the internet for products that sell, and then they're saying, okay, this is the scenario that consumers want to buy it in. I'm going to try to fake and create that. Now, that can totally work. I mean, there's a lot of brands from overseas that are doing that, and it can gain traction. But I think, and my opinion would be, at that point, you're at a race to the bottom. It's going to become, okay, how can that product get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and your value diminishes? People that take the time for their product, they're always looking to increase the value of it, the value add.
So it's the difference between brand building and, like a private label product.
Absolutely.
In fact, that term private label, there's actually somebody who's like, he's going to go on trial pretty soon, I think. It was a KSL ad. But anyways, he was selling like, give me $10,000 and I'll give you 5% monthly return. I can't remember the exact numbers, but like X% monthly returns because we private label, we can just print money and give you 5% return. Of course, it didn't turn into anything, and everybody lost their money. Why do you think people fall for that private label? I know it can work sometimes. Like I've done some, and it was probably about like 30% of the products actually would work and like be decent.
That's a great question, because the two brands that I worked for previously to American Flat, they were private label. And I think the allure, I think, is that you have that American dream of creating something that's yours, you own, it's part of you, and somebody wants that. So that's what I think people latch on to, is that emotional connection to that. But I think where maybe some people fall short, and this is a generalistic view, so there might be the haters in the comments. Some people just don't want to work hard for it. They see what's in it, and they say, oh, well, I don't know if I can dedicate 20 hours a week. I want something that will just, in fact, I joke with my friends, and if my friends watch this video, you'll know this. I want something that just makes me $3,000 a month. And they just want that to sit back and roll like an investment. And
just buy from Alibaba, 1,000 units a month.
Throw it into
Somebody
FBA.
else do it for me.
It'll be great. They hold Amazon. They'll do all the customer service. Send me a replenish alerts. Yeah, all of those things are automated. There's a lot that aren't. Yeah. And that's what requires the work. So I think that's where people fall short, is laziness is, I think, what it comes down to. So
what about the difference now between 7 and 8-figure excellence?
And I'm really kind of dipping my toe in the water here. I think American Flat specifically has a great team of professionals that works there. In fact, all right, so stay with me here. There's a scene in the greatest Batman movie, in my opinion, Batman Begins. Okay. Bruce Wayne, Thomas Wayne, Martha Wayne, got the mom, are on the train. They're headed into Gotham to see the play where they eventually get killed. And little Bruce Wayne looks at Wayne Tower and says, "Dad, is that where you work?" And he says, "No, I work at the hospital. I leave the running of the company to more," what is it? He says, I'm now forgetting, but I think he says like more important men.
Yeah.
And Bruce looks at him and says, "Important? Like, dude, you're my dad. Who could be more important?" And he says, "Well, more interested men." And I think that that's the key to a great CEO, is that you surround yourself with people where you realize you don't, or you're not strong. Not even that you're weak. I think it's where you're not strongest. You bring people on that are stronger than you in those areas. You surround it. They build up a team around them. And that's what launches your brand. I think the products at that point do need to be tailored to your consumer, right? There does need to be a good amount of research. Consumers, what do they want? What don't they like? You have to pay attention to that. But it is also key on who you bring onto your team, and that's how you scale.
Explain real fast, like at American Flat, what are the departments that you have?
Yeah. So we have our leadership team, consists of our CEO, Giorgio Piccoli. And then from there, we have, or I guess along with him is, we have a vice president of finance, Paul Rogers. And then we have a vice president of operations, my boss, Kent Nunez. He's my favorite. I'm just throwing it out there.
Shout out, Kent.
Yep, shout out, Kent. Angela Owen is our VP of product development and merchandising. And then Johnny Picardo is our VP of product design, our creative. And so they are the team that really is like the leadership, strong leadership team. And we brought on a new great HR director, Lacey Medina. So that is the key team. And then from there,
how do you balance, as an operations leader, staying really lean, but also, you have to have these departments to succeed like you guys have?
That is a great question. And fortunately, I have a great answer. Our CEO, Giorgio, he came across, was introduced to a methodology, lean methodology. It's 2-second improvements by Paul Akers. Paul Akers teaches about being lean in companies, where you are constantly looking to identify wastes, making 2-second improvements, and being better. We implemented that a year ago about this time, and saw tremendous improvements just in the first 8 months.
What is a 2-second improvement?
I'm glad you asked. A 2-second improvement is something that you do on, let's say, a daily basis, but maybe it bugs you. For example, let's say I'm making a breakfast drink, and let's say my coffee maker is over here on this shelf, but my mugs are here. I go to grab a mug, then I got to go over there, pour it, then maybe I have to go back to get a spoon. The 2-second improvement would be, why don't I just move my coffee maker to be right under my mugs? So now I have mug, coffee, creamer, whatever, and then it's good. It's not a massive overhaul of the system you're doing. You just made that slight improvement and you saved yourself. And maybe it's only like 2 seconds.
Yeah, kind of like an 846 document, like
absolutely
having to manually push that instead of getting like a company that can do that for you.
Yes. No, but that's the idea. That's the 2-second improvement. It's something that is bugging you, but until you start looking for it, it's almost like you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what bugs you until you're like, wait a second, that does bug me.
So that culture has to come from on top.
Absolutely.
From your CEO.
Yeah. So he instituted it. We even revamped our morning meeting that we have every day. Everybody logs in to do what we call the coffee morning meeting. We have one in the afternoon on Mondays for those that are on the other side of the world. And then our other morning meetings, we've revamped the whole process of it. Now, everyone takes a turn hosting that meeting. We go through flow disruptions of what's been happening that are kind of interrupting the daily processes and how we've fixed them, or sometimes we don't have a fix. And we're maybe collectively saying, hey, this is an issue. We're trying to fix it. And then people can help and chime in. And,
That's really cool.
and then we take snippets from the books that Paul Akers have wrote and share why they're important, have people comment on them. And then we do an exercise in identifying the deadly wastes in they're called the 8 deadly wastes. Here's the test. It's downtime. So it's defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and extra processing. And so those are the things that we identify and try to in everyday situations. And by doing that, we've realized the waste of the company and where we can be better and where we need to grow. And then the idea is also that by doing so, you still make your mistakes. People learn from them, and your mistakes then are less and less. They can still have great effect, but now your people are looking for how to not do those.
No, it's really cool.
And it's been a big change for us, and it's been really awesome.
So much of the success of a brand goes into the intersection of operations and finance. Like at a certain point, between like 7 and 8 figures, at a certain point, a brand will turn a corner where it no longer feels like they're just like exchanging cash for inventory and then depleting it and then like, were we a little bit profitable or did we lose money? Like, what have you done to help out with the intersection of operations and finance such that you're actually profitable in a scaling business?
Man, that's a great question. This would be the time that I get to pat myself on the back. I think probably one of my greatest strengths that I've brought is kind of my attention to detail. And so there's a process right now with our 3PLs where they send us bills and then we validate them. And so a lot of it is the what's called the value-added services where they are doing jobs for us. There's an admin fee, there's a storage fee, and then there's like the normal. Probably the biggest one that people are familiar with would be probably storage, and then your pick and pack for your order, right? Those are your 2 big ones. Those ones I'm able to look at and identify. And although they are automated in that the orders come through digitally and are processed digitally, that no one is going and saying, okay, they did 1, 2, 3, and they're not counting line by line, there still needs to be an accountability and a validation. So for myself, it's been, I feel accountable for validating this process to make sure that what is being billed to us is 1, accurate, and then 2, that it falls in line with what we think it needs to be.
Do you think a lot of operations people, because they don't have to touch the inventory, don't do this manual validating? Like, for example, I buy something for my factory. They just send me like a pro forma invoice, maybe like an inspection sheet, and then they'll send it to my 3PL. Then maybe you'll send something from 3PL to FBA. Anyways, you don't really ever touch the inventory. Do you think most operators don't validate a lot of that?
I would say it's probably one of those missing arts that just like, and I'm going to go old school, but shoe shining. I think it's one of those old tasks that we used to shine our shoes all the time, and we lost that attention to detail because we got sweet kicks, and we don't need to do that. Touching the inventory, I think, is one of those lost arts. Being physical with it, I would totally agree with that. That I think to be a good operator, you have to be hands-on in a sense of your product and know what you're looking at, and it can't just be a set it and forget it mentality.
It's our most underrated feature in Luminous, actually, because the brand has their concept of a shipment or a PO, and then FBA and your 3PL, they'll have the shipment, and never the two shall meet, except in Luminous. we make them actually like match them together and reconcile them.
Nice.
But we agree. I want to dive a little bit into American Flat's operations. We talked about like the makeup of the team. I want to talk a little bit about how do you purchase goods, and then where do you distribute them, and what sales channels do you have?
Okay.
So let's start out with distribution points. What is American Flat's makeup of? Like, where are you sending product out of? How many 3PLs do you have? How many countries do you do FBA?
So right now, currently, we have 3 warehouses, 3 3PLs in the United States. We are just about to open on a 3PL in Canada, and then looking at outside of the United States in the eastern side, so the
Okay.
EU and Australia and Japan. Right now, our distribution is an Amazon 1P model.
Okay.
And so Amazon purchases the goods and then they get shipped out from there to different distribution centers, the DCs across the United States. And so depending on where the product is and which DC is closer is which warehouse it comes out of.
Got it.
But that's kind of how our operations work in the States. Canada, we're very young in that,
Okay.
and have yet to really see how that plays out and rolls out. But going back to an earlier concept of surrounding yourself with good people, our 3PL in Canada has been very good at telling us these are kind of the things that you should expect. And it's been really great as we've been getting into a new territory that we aren't as versed in, that we have somebody there with that expertise. But
next part of operations, your purchasing flow. Let's assume you purchase finished goods, right? And they get routed to those warehouses. Now your sales channels. What channels does American Flat sell across right now?
Yeah, so we can be found on Amazon. We have a big presence on Amazon, of course, as I mentioned. We're also in Target, Michaels, Macy's, Kohl's, Wayfair. I know I'm forgetting some. Maybe Michaels. I don't know if I ever say that. Ugh.
You've got a bunch. Like you have 20 channels.
We have a lot of channels. We're in the home decor model, so picture frames. We do some pillows, shower curtains. So really, any marketplace that has that need, we are in.
So you have 3 3PLs, multiple FBA stores. You might have one, but you have to replenish a bunch of FBA distribution centers. What is the biggest challenge of being omni-channel? Selling across all those channels, it must be difficult, right?
Not wrong. In fact, this is a great lead-in as to why I'm here and sitting in this chair. Inventory. That was probably the biggest, I would think, operationally, is the biggest struggle, is making sure the product that needs to be bought is in those respective warehouses or 3PLs, and that it's not in just one. If all of your inventory is in California per se, then getting that to the East Coast, now your costs could be nuts to get it from West Coast to East Coast if that hub or DCs on the East Coast is what's wanting that product. So you have to be able to forecast the demand. And with Amazon, that can be hard because Amazon, as a lot of people in operations, e-commerce know, Amazon kind of goes to their own rules, or the beat of their own drum, so to speak. So I think inventory has been probably our hardest thing, of knowing if we have the inventory in these said locations and making sure that it's evenly distributed across all 3.
And I guess a big reason, because you guys aren't a 1,000-person company who can afford to roll out NetSuite and a big ERP.
Absolutely.
Like I guess the question is, like, you guys have been tackling this. How do you run this? You have a massive infrastructure, 15, 20 sales channels, orders coming in from everywhere, multiple distribution points, and running that on a lean team. How have you guys, have you gotten to a point where it's like, hey, you need a system?
Yes. So, not to be that like one word answer to that question, but absolutely. I think you get to a point where, and I think a lot of small businesses are doing this. You're running your stuff in Google Sheets. Google Suite is your friend, right? Excel sheets. And you get to that point where you're like, boy, I feel like I need something more. And then you start looking, right? You start Googling, okay, how do I replace this? And those big dogs, the big names you mentioned, NetSuite pops up. And you're like, probably first, whoa, that I think might be a little more than what I need. Or you maybe have that false ideology of, oh, they're expensive, they're going to get me to the next level because they're expensive. You come into it and you're like, where do I go? And I think that is why we have such a great partnership, is because you are fulfilling a role for us that is now, looking back at it, crucial to where we need to be. We're in a good place because of that. But hindsight's 2020, and so not everybody is as fortunate as that to be able to look back and think, oh, I'm glad we chose this.
Was there a breaking point that made you stop and be like, oh, we need a system for our inventory?
Yes. Probably one of the biggest things, one of our horror stories would be that we're looking, for example, Amazon places an order, a PO for a couple of units of this particular SKU. And it's great. It's an order. It's come in. The customer wants it. Then going to the 3PL and saying, hey, we need X units of this. It looks like in the inventory we have that. And this is the order. Oh, we don't have that. Or we can't find it. And it's this, oh, are you sure? You sure you don't? Because it says you do. And at that point, it's once you start doing multiple 3PLs, and maybe even if you're doing just one, but it's offsite and it's out of state, or you're not able to see it on a daily basis. I think that's the point. For me, that was the point where it's like, okay, something has to change because this is not sustainable. And it's very possible that the inventory exists, right? But it's also just as possible that it's been out for a long time and we've been promising this product, but we've actually been out for a while. And so it's not fair to the consumers, obviously, because now they've bought something that we can't fulfill. But then it's also not fair or reasonable to think that we would be able to grow or scale, because those orders that are onesie twosies now are going to turn into double digits later. And then you're going to be in a big world of hurt. So I think being able to realize at that point of, hey, maybe we should look to see if there's something else available. That's the point that when you get to that point, it's don't ignore that feeling, like act on it and roll it out.
Yeah, I think I see a lot of brands who'd use a 3PL that for a long time, the 3PL's WMS acts as like their system of record. They might log in every week, export inventory. Maybe they're bringing down sales orders through some other way. Maybe they're exporting a weekly report, and that's how they do everything. Everything else is just in a spreadsheet. But I think, as soon as you get to 2 3PLs and all of a sudden you're reconciling data from 2 different systems, I mean, now you're just exploding in Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I think the point we're at, is that we're downloading inventory from 3 potential places, and then it is, well, if we get into Canada, what if we get into Canada East?
Yeah.
What if we get into Canada West? And then EU, is it Sweden, Netherlands, Spain?
And then specifically, the technical problem also is taking that inventory, consolidating it by warehouse, and then pushing those numbers, or some of those numbers, to the 15 different channels.
Yes, sharing those essentially. And then I think also in American Flight doesn't have this, but some companies only sell certain SKUs on certain websites. And so not only are you're not sharing the inventory, but now your storage costs for only your target inventory could be dramatically pulling you down, because your cycle is just not as fast. Your velocity is super slow. But
I know one of your cool use cases is you have so many channels, but some are way more profitable. How do you make sure to just stay in stock for maybe your more profitable channels while kind of deprioritizing others?
That's a great question. I would say our sales team is really good at finding that priority level. And then, so while we don't interact with them as much on that specific side, I will say the in-stock capabilities we have are led to or driven from our sales team, and they do a really good job of that.
So that your sales team is responsible for kind of predicting or forecasting sales at all these channels, and they will tell you what to push where? Yeah,
we get the orders from them. They say this is what's going to go into FBA, and then we are in charge of making sure that the warehouse finds it, locates it, and ships it out in a timely manner.
Okay.
So
What technical problems has Luminous solved for you so far?
A big one is the EDI. That was probably the thing that brought us together, was the need to push EDI codes. And I'll be the first to admit, barely know EDI myself. So, but
which is common. A lot of so many operators,
absolutely,
they don't, and it's complicated.
In fact, when I was first interviewed from the company, my boss Kent asked me what integrations I was familiar with, and I went and said, "Oh, I've done a ShipStation. I've done," and he was like, "No. I was talking about like EDI integrations," and I was like, I don't know those
like
words.
Real stuff, Anthony.
Yeah. Listen, little man.
Taps you on the head.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute. So that was the biggest pain point that we had to solve, is wanting to grow and scale, but use a platform that could grow with that. And that was a big part, was the EDI.
Yeah, I remember when you guys came on. So Paul at Surpass, he's been a fantastic partner.
Great guy.
Setting up, you guys had like 10 to 15 EDI integrations. I feel like it was 10 to 15 API connections. And it was like, hey guys, we have to migrate everything.
Yeah, because it was a bunch of outside noise going to different places. There was not one single pass through.
Oh wait, how was it before? So
it was a lot of like patchwork. So not patchwork makes it sound like it was like
a lot of different systems.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a lot of different systems doing the need of what Luminous has been able to provide. That now, instead of logging into this and that and this and that, it's one local source now versus.
So before, you might have to log into Target, upload inventory, log into Michael's, here's the inventory, log in. And then you have to first you have to download the inventory from all your warehouses, compile it into a new spreadsheet, then push it out.
And some were multiple times a day.
Jeez.
So like and then the processing time was quite long. I think there was one in the beginning process of our lean revamp. One of the our big wins, we call it, was having I want to say it was Shopify. Uploading Shopify, it used to take, I think it was like 3 hours for the file to process and be done. And once we were able to fix it, it was a 45-minute upload. And so, I'm sorry, it went to a 3-minute upload. It was that dramatic. It was a 3-minute upload. And it was like, oh my word. And that's kind of what started this all we could be doing this a lot better. There could be a seamless internet.
That's really cool right there. Because I think so many operators, it's very difficult to see that, we could actually be doing this better, because it comes from a really good spot, which is just do it yourself. Sure, I could try to implement this big system, this big massive ERP, but honestly, we'll live and this can scale to 9 figures. What is the point where it's like, no, we should really be trying to automate something?
It's funny because, like you're saying, I don't know how many people actually realize where they're at in that situation, because it's almost like that, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? But then you don't realize that it's like, oh, this is broken.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of piecing it together. So there's that story of the cutting of the ham, where the daughter is talking to the mom, why do we cut the ham? And she says, oh, I don't know, my mom did it. And then you go to grandma, why do you cut the ham? And she says, oh, because I didn't have a pan that was big enough for a full ham. And that's essentially what you're doing. And I think to go to your point is that you don't realize sometimes why you're doing it and that it is broken. But I think you have to take that step back and think, okay, is there anything about this process that bugs me? And then it's okay, how could it be improved? And I think that there has to be that kind of humble click in your mind of, okay, maybe I'm not the best at this process. Is there a better way to do it? And so I think it's that. And I surround myself with people that help me do that, but it's not easy for everyone. I would say most people think, well, the way I'm doing it is fine. Now, why would I improve?
Was the efficiency focus from 12 months ago? Was that a big reason for this, or was this?
Yeah, that was a big part. The lean process really kicked us off into how do we make things easier, faster, and simpler?
Got it.
And instead of spending our time doing, not to make it sound that it was insignificant, but instead of it just being this, well, we're just going to survive mode, it was like, why can't we thrive?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we do more than just survive? And again, that paradigm shift was a big key player in, I think this is broken and it could use a revamp.
That's cool.
It's a really complex problem because on one end, I've met a lot of operators nowadays who they fear over implementing a system like NetSuite, like a big ERP, because it can actually slow you down when you have this many channels, or you have to pay millions of dollars to customize it so that it doesn't slow you down. Why do you think so many operators fear implementing a big ERP?
I think there's two reasons. I think. Again, haters, bring it on.
The comments.
I think one, it's the recognizing that maybe the process you're doing is broken, and there's that initial admittance of fault or maybe not being good. I think we all, as operators, kind of have this like, I've been in the industry a while. I know what's good and what's not, right? And I think that's a fallacy. I think you have to be willing to change.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I think cost. I think cost is one that they are either intimidated by the price, or on the flip side, like I mentioned earlier, have that false notion that, if it's expensive, it must be good. And then maybe that doubt rolls in of like, am I good enough for an ERP? Am I big enough for an ERP? Yeah. Do I really need it, or could I get by? Because maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not as big or as important as I need to be. So honestly, I think it comes down to doubt a lot. That's that inner naysayer in you, and come down to as maybe corny as that sounds. I do think that self-doubt is what holds a lot of people back.
You were saying earlier how when you get these ERPs, you then have to hire the NetSuite admin. Then you have to hire the contractor who's going to customize and build all your integrations. And then it's like the maintaining of those. And when you're a company focused on efficiency, it doesn't scream efficiency to have to hire 3 or 4 people to maintain your system.
No, you're not wrong. It's exactly that. Like, I think you may not realize initially that it might just be like, let's say it's $100,000 a year, right? And you're like, it's $100,000, cool.
We can afford that.
But then you don't realize you get it, and let's say you open it up. All right, www.fakeerp.com, and you're like, this has nothing in it. My product's not here. What do I do? You get on the phone, right? Or text support. Hey, how do I do this? In order to that, you need this. And then you're like, woof. Now I got to get somebody to do this. I don't have the time to do it. Somebody has to learn this. And
or it's like
it scales from there.
Yeah.
You do your first like replenishment flow, and it's like, this is like 9 steps. Can we trim this up? Like, yeah, for $300 an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll cut that down.
No problem. Send you my invoice. So yeah, I would say that probably too is people just don't know what it takes to actually run it like it's advertised.
Yeah.
Have you heard the quote, nobody ever got fired for buying IBM?
No, but that's so accurate.
You have these large, huge companies. They're the safe bet. You can safely choose it as your ERP, and if it goes bad, it's not your fault because you went the safe bet.
Yeah.
It's their fault. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. I see that.
But the thing is, for 8-figure and like lower 9-figure brands, I mean, this decision could literally put you out of business. I remember I was looking to NetSuite, and I was an 8-figure operator, and looking at what it was actually going to cost, it was just kind of like, if this goes wrong, like, I don't want to be like draconian, but like, like this could actually kill us if this goes wrong. But it was actually true, like, because at the time we did probably like $3 million in EBITDA. We had horrible debt structure with the PE firm that bought us, so we were paying like $200K a year, or $200K a month do that to service the debt. Anyways, so I was looking and it was like, yeah, this goes wrong. Like, we might be out of business. Yeah.
Is ops, do you feel like it's a lot of people management or is it process management?
I think it's both. It's a tandem of both for sure. You have to empower your people. That's the one. You can't do it all yourself.
What do you mean by empower? How?
You have to let them know what decisions they can and can't make and feel comfortable by making those decisions. If they have to come to you every single time they need a decision, your process is broken and you won't have time for that. And you can't scale it. So even your most junior level person should have some sort of ownership of a complex process, let's say, to where they can give you the final say, hey, is this okay? But they shouldn't have to come to you and say, oh, do I do this? Do I do this? Is this okay? Is this okay? Because you'll go crazy.
When you bring on somebody new, do you set like, if it falls within here, you just make the decision and act?
Yeah, I'd say when you bring on somebody new, you have like for us, it's a 30, 60, 90-day plan, right? And there you're stepping with them so they feel comfortable every step of the way. But you are slowly, that dad with the kid on the bike, right? We're like getting further and further away that they feel comfortable, and to the point where they're pedaling and they look back and you're, half a block back and they, I can do this on my own. So yeah, there is that hand holding in the beginning, but eventually, and that's what I meant by empower, is that you're giving them the confidence to make these decisions so that A, they make a decision and it goes well, but then also B, when it doesn't go well, they recognize that it was bad, right? I think we all maybe feel that, the guilt, crap. But 2, okay, maybe it's not as bad as you think. You are your own worst critic. You are harshest on yourself. But then how do we grow from this? How do we learn from this? That empowering process is a part of ops that you need to empower your people. And then by empowering your people, your processes become more fine-tuned. They're able to say, oh, I recognize this fault. Let me change this. And then it's this circle. It just builds. It's like a flywheel that you empower your people, your processes improve. Your processes improve. Now your people have more empowerment. They're going to make better choices. And I think it's a harmonious relationship.
That's really cool.
We talk about this a lot at Luminous. We say that we serve the modern commerce brands. So modern commerce is ever evolving. So ever since you started selling on Amazon 12, 15 years ago, it's changed so much.
Oh, yeah.
And it's changed so much over just the past 5 years. What are some of the new trends that you're seeing for modern brands in the next 5 years?
Ooh. That's crazy, because if you had asked me this question 2 years ago, my answer would have been a lot different. I think a big change that we could see with brands is needing to have a brand movement, really involving the customer in your brand. And maybe that's like showcasing them in like lifestyle images of them using the product. I think that a big movement is going to be telling a story of that product on Amazon, that it won't be good enough to just say, here's the product, these are our features and benefits. I think it's going to be, this is how it's going to improve your life, or this is the pain point that it's going to solve. And it's going to be specific. It's not going to be vague anymore of, oh, this might do this. It's going to have to be, this product will fix this. And I think through like posts and interactions that the sellers are going to hopefully get that data to say, oh, these are the pain points that our product solves. These are the terms that people are searching for. This is how we're going to target them and help them fix their stuff.
Nice.
Now, that being said, that might be a little idealistic, that's what I'd like it to see. I could also see it going the complete other way, and it's a overseas buyers driving the market down. But I'm holding out hope. That's what I want it to. That's what I want it to be. I want it to be more consumer focused.
How have Trump's tariffs affected American Flat?
Oh, they're painful. It's not to get too political in it, but it's hard to see the rationale behind it when could have the possibility of affecting so many people working that I'm not quite sure. In the famous words of my boss, Kent, the math is not mathing. So it's not great.
Why do you think people think that this is some like convoluted scheme to like get China to pay theirs? And
Man, that's a great question, because I think if you go back to your days of being a kid on the playground, right? What did a bully need? The bully needed the most, they needed a punch to the face, right? But then once the bully got punched in the face, those that did the punching got in trouble. So Trump is, quote unquote, punching the bully in the face and saying, no, we won't stand for it. There are still consequences for punching people in the face. So I couldn't tell you why people think that it's a good idea. I think we have this idea that we want it to be good, and maybe looking at it now, it's like, oh, maybe it's not so great. But I don't know. I just know that as a seller bringing products from overseas, those tariffs hurt, and the companies can't afford to eat it. It gets passed on. So
it's a very painful process for anybody who's been involved, and it's a painful discussion with you and your factory on like, hey, is there any way you can help me? And they're already pretty low margin as well, and
yeah,
you end up passing it on to the consumer.
And I think that's the hard part is that awareness isn't really there, that maybe people don't realize and think, oh my gosh, what used to be $2 is now $6. That's crazy. People are just more greedy. Well, there's a little more to it than that. So.
Yeah. Anthony, where, this is your first podcast, so maybe you don't have an answer to this. Where can people find you?
No, great.
Got an OnlyFans or something,
Yeah. No, yeah, we're hot. AmericanFlat.com. Find us on Amazon.
Cool.
Thanks so much.
No, thanks for having me. Pleasure.